It feels nice, when somebody praises you like that. Now, Steve was just talking about a smile, right? So, if I ask you, you have, these days you have calculations for how many steps did you walk, how many kilometers or miles did you walk. Do you have any calculations of how much did you smile in a day? Are you calculating how many times are you smiling? I was just recently giving somebody an idea that, we should have something attached to our two sides of the lips, so that when you stretch your lips, only when you stretch your lips is your life actually becoming straight. Do you notice that? How many times in a day do you smile? So the analysis of the whole world is that the child smiles 400 times in a day. A small child smiles 400 times in a day. Now, there are two things in a small child. One, he smiles. The second, he can influence others. So if you put a small child in, amidst sad people, what do you say? Will the sad people become happy, or will the child become sad? If a 3-year-old child, 2.5-year-old child, you put him in amidst angry, depressed people, what happens? Have you noticed you become a child with a child? If the child picks up, a mic and says, hello, and you will also pick up something and say, yeah, hello. The child has an ability not just to be happy, but also to make you happy. That's a quality. You understand what I'm saying? Many times you are happy and you get amidst negative people and instantly you lose your joy. If I ask you a question, what kind of people do you like around you? What's your instant reply? Happy people. You know why? Because somewhere we are very bothered that we will get influenced by unhappy people. One. The second, I don't know how to make the negative people happy. Are you understanding? This is very deep. It's a very important, intricate point. Why I want to be amidst happy people? Because maybe I'm a good person. Yes, most of us are. But when you come in contact with somebody who is not happy, you instantly lose that joy. Agree? How many agree to this point?
Yes,
what do you say?
yes.
Yes, no? Right? So a child does not do that. But if you have, the child has not just the power to smile, but he has the power to also influence people. That's what we want in life. That's one thing. It's not enough to be happy. It is also important to be very strong. It's important to be able to sustain that happiness in such a way that you don't get influenced. Most people in this world are good and happy, but what is the problem is the contact that you have suddenly influences you to such an extent that you get. How it influences you, we'll see this going forward now. But a small child smiles 400 times in a day. How many times? 400. Have you noticed a small child? The small child will be looking at its fingers and just smiling. The small child, anything happens in front of the small child may be watching a television and somebody just jumps from maybe some aeroplane, and the small child finds this very funny. Like, how can somebody jump from an aeroplane? And he'll be laughing absolutely. And when you see it's a treat to see a small child eat an ice cream. It's a total treat. It can be a total show when a small child is eating an ice cream. You just see how much involved is the small child. Right from the first bite to the last bite, the small child is the same. It's the same, absolutely, while eating the ice cream. That's one thing. Now this small child becomes 20 years old. He becomes, a youngster. So now what does he have in his life? He has an iPad. He has a job. He can earn his own money. Maybe he has a girlfriend. Maybe he has lots and lots of equipments around him. He has a guitar. He has cell phones. He has everything. So all these luxuries are to take your smile higher, right? All this has to take your smile higher. That's why you have these luxuries, right? So the 20-year-old would be smiling how many times?
400.
400 or more? Or less? Less. How much less? You know this? Much less. How much? Come on, tell me a number.
100.
150? You are a very positive person. 20-year-old, how much time? How many times? Guess? 4 times. So you are a very negative person. Negative, pessimistic, I would say. 15, 20 times. Just 20 times. It's a youngster of it is an average taken out of American journal around the world. A 20-year-old smiles 17 times in a day. Just 17. And then he becomes 30-year-old and he gets married. The rest of the story, most of you know. After that, everybody comes to his marriage and smiles. You're done. All the smiles that you had, 400 times, 20 times is also done. What happens? What happens as we are growing and we are getting luxuriously comfortable? I think this is all there to make you comfortable, to make you smile more. Today if I have a mic, today I have a cushion pillow, I have good clothes, I have gadgets, all this is to make me smile more. What do you say, isn't it? Yes. But somehow the smile has gone down, and so what Steve was saying is, I would say success is something which a smile which nobody can take away. What do you say? Isn't that true success? Yeah, okay, emotions are there in our life, but quickly bouncing back in emotions. If you're angry, how much time do you get angry? 1 day, 3 minutes, or 4 years? Quickly bouncing back from emotions. So I would say there are 3 things in life. One is perception. Perception. How you perceive this whole world around you. How do you see the world? How do you see people around you? So if you have a speck of dust in your eye, have you noticed the whole world looks blurred? Isn't it? Agree? If you have a speck of dust, so what do you have to do? You change the world or you remove the speck of dust from your eye? Many times it's my own ego and I feel other people are egoistic. Many times it's my own, I want respect, I want love, and I feel other people are demanding love and respect. It's my own personal thing and I see it in other people. This is how do I perceive the world outside. This is a very important thing. Many times when somebody walks in, you have had a fight 3 years back. 3 years back you had a fight with somebody on some issue, a disagreement, and the person walks in after 3 years and you look at the person, the reflection of the past spoils your present relationship with the person. Anybody agrees this? Anybody agrees to this fact? The perception still, the judgments that you carry now still are of 3 years. But in 3 years, the person has completely transformed. But your judgments haven't. Your impressions of that person haven't. Your reflections of the past are so solidified that you still look at the person that way. Perception is one thing which you have to see. How do we improve our perception? From outside to inside. Something which comes from outside to inside, which you feed into you, are perceptions. So if you have a stressed mind, everything looks stressed outside. Agree? Agree? If you are stressed, then everything, the mother-in-law looks bad, the boss looks bad, even the dog is not appealing those days when you're stressed. Even that day you don't like the dog, you get angry at your own personal dog. Agree? What do you say? Then if you notice, one more important thing is observation. How many of us actually observe our emotions? How many of us know what is the difference between anger and resentment? How many of us know what is the difference between fear and anxiety? How many of us can understand, oh, I am fearful, oh, this is anxiety, oh, this is paranoia, I have become paranoid. How many of us have the ability to understand and observe an emotion? If you can observe within what is happening within, if you can observe, I tell you, a lot can be solved. A lot can be solved. But we don't know how to do it. Like for example, if you look at a thought, if somebody comes and tells you, I don't like you, what happens? Somebody in a democratic country like America, just had a democracy to say, I don't like you. 4 words. And what happened to you? It came into your ears, it rang your eardrums, and then your mind said, he says, I don't like you. And you chew on these negative words. Chew on these negative words. Just sit and think about it. He said, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you. And suddenly this has become hatred. Suddenly this has become anger. How many agree? So, for somebody gave you a thought, but you chewed on this particular thought for a long time, and this becomes an emotion. You made a thought from a thought to an emotion. He didn't do that. He just said, I don't like you. And you created an emotion, hatred. If you create something, you have the ability to destroy it also. But we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to stop that thought becoming an emotion. Agree? What do you say? A thought is easy, but an emotion is solidified. I usually give this example that you have the cement powder, and then you add water to it, you mix it, and now the whole thing is cemented, and see how tough it is. An emotion is that way. But you created it. So whenever somebody says you are responsible for your emotions, that's true. Because you chewed on this thought continuously and you created this emotion, but I don't know how to stop this, and I don't know how to destroy this. I don't know how to break it. And observation, how do I help this myself? Isn't that very interesting? How to observe, how to differentiate emotions, how to make sure, because the past emotions, anger, and from being angry, you become violent. Anger leads to, when anger becomes at its volcanic stage, it becomes violence. And the more you suppress anger, the more it becomes volcanic. At one particular time, it will come out on those people whom you love the most. Surprisingly. So children do it with their parents, and parents do it with amongst themselves in relationships or on their children. It becomes violent because you have been suppressing these emotions so much. One day violently it comes out. Anybody agrees to this? What do you say? How do I handle these emotions is observation. And the third thing that comes, what I'm saying right now is an expression. How do I express myself diligently? How do I express myself efficiently? Because years of study, and then you have to sit in front of the interviewer. Somebody interviews you, and in that 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of the interview, you have to express yourself so amazingly nice that that person has to be impressed. How do I express myself nicely? What does stress do? Stress clogs all these 3 parameters of life. Perception, from outside to inside. Observation, it does not allow you to observe. It does not allow you to see your emotions. It does not allow you to see yourself clearly. It does not allow you to perceive how people see you also. And third is expressions. Your expressions becomes clogged. You become nervous and you cannot express. You know it. Many times when you have a fight, then you go back and you think, oh, I should have said this. I should, see, for example, I can tell you this. When somebody comes to you with a problem, have you noticed how many solutions you give to that person? Some friend of yours comes to a problem and says, I'm going through this relationship problem, can you give, and you give him so many solutions. Oh, come on, be patient, it happens, it's okay, adjustments happen in a relationship. But when you are in that problem, do you notice nothing else? Anybody agrees to this fact? When you are in the same problem, you can't give any solutions to yourself. Which means, look at what stress does. Stress clogs your mind completely to act in a state of problems. That's why I say, okay, no problem if you have an emotion, but how quickly you bounce back. This is called the happiness program. This is called the art of happiness program. That how quickly I can become normal. If I can become normal quickly, to become normal. How do I do this? That's where meditation comes into picture. That's where today the world is writing about it. That's where the breath, which is in the present moment, all that we want. If I ask you, you say I want happiness. You said I want peace of mind. I want joy. All these are products of the present moment. When you have the ability to get your mind in the present moment, you are naturally joyful. You are naturally happy. Have you noticed many times you are at work and you say, I want a break. Many times you have been with people around you and what do you say? I need a break. I need space. I need a break. You say this in your language. Anybody? Yes, I need a break. You know what is the break you are demanding from? The break is from the past and the future. Thinking about the past and juggling in the future. This is the break. You are actually saying, I want to come back to the present. I want to come back. And you would be noticing when you say I want a break, you would be noticing your smile has gone down drastically. You have stopped smiling and being happy. That's why you are asking for a break. And where do you take your break? Usually you take your break in two places. One is with your parents, with people who love you. You usually want to go there. Or second, with nature. You want to go into the mountains, you want to go into the ocean, because nature is a product of the present moment. It's always in the present, the nature. And people who love you, they get your mind in the present. So you want to be with them. How do I handle, can I always do this? Can I always take a break? No, I cannot. How do I get my mind in the present? This is what we do in the Art of Happiness program. We get the mind in the present moment with the help of the breath. The breath is in the present moment. You can't say, I've been breathing for a long time, I want to take a break. You can't say that, right? And you can't say, okay, let me breathe tomorrow. I can take a break and breathe tomorrow. It's always in the present moment, always. And with the help of the breath, thankfully you can get your mind in the present. With the meditation, you can get your mind in the present. And when the mind is in the present, not just you're happy, you're strong. You can handle people around you. You can be amidst stressful people, but you can help them to come back. You don't get so agitated with them then. Are you here? Are you listening to me? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah? It's not, that's why I'm telling you, it's not enough to be just happy. You have to be like a doctor. You have to be amidst sick people, but keep yourself protected. The doctor never falls sick when he's amidst sick people. He's a doctor. He cannot afford to fall sick. He knows how to protect himself. Like this, you should know how to be amidst the world and yet be happy. Yet be happy. So when I ask you what kind of people do you want, you can say, come on, let it go. Get any kind of people, I will turn them on. I can change them. That's the way I think most happy people are agitated because of their goodness. They see that somebody else is doing bad to them. They are not skillful enough to handle that bad. They are not logical. They think, why is this happening? And that why makes them agitated. Anybody agrees to this fact? Yeah? Most happy people actually are unhappy. Today if you see, most good people are unhappy because they are good, but they don't know how to be skillful. Right? So I wanted you to introduce you to this meditation today, so that it's not that we just be happy. I want everybody to be strong also. Everybody to be strong, to be able to handle. Good idea?
Yes.
Good idea. So I want to invite one of my friends, Ronnie Newman, who's an expert on science. She's an expert on science. She's done a lot of research with respect to meditation and science. So she's going to combine and tell you, she's expert and she's brilliant. She's just brilliant. And today she's going to let us know how does science look at meditation. Interested? Yes, no?
Yes.
Some more response? Yes, no?
Yes.
Ronnie.
My favorite topic.
So Ronnie is doing research in the Nova University. She has grants in the Nova University to do research and many different places. She's done research all across the world. She's going to link these two topics. And please be open to ask questions, and then we will meditate. After we listen to all the logical aspects, then we go and meditate. Ronnie.
So, when you talk about being strong and happy, this is really what meditation shows, that it's not enough that we meditate for ourselves. I think that probably every single person here, the dear souls that I know that are here from all the different wonderful communities that I belong to that are here, we all want for everybody else too. We don't just want for ourselves, right? I don't think there's a single person in this room who just wants to be happy for themselves. We want to be of service. We want to leave the world a better place. And one of the things that's quite interesting that science has recently discovered is something called mirror neurons. How many people have heard of mirror neurons? Okay, so for those who have not, and it's very interesting the way it was discovered. There were some scientists doing research on monkeys. And they were wanting to figure out what part of the brain was responsible for fine motor movement. And this one particular day, one of the scientists came into the lab, and he brought his lunch, and he spread it out right in front of the monkey, who happened to be hooked up to the EEG machine. And what he discovered was that as he would pick up his hand to eat, the part of the brain in the monkey that was responsible for that fine motor coordination began to light up, as if the monkey was actually eating the food. And every time he would move in a particular way, the monkey's brain would light up. And so what was discovered is basically that our actions, and I'll talk in a second, our thoughts and our emotions are literally contagious. There is no such thing as your brain and your brain. All of our brains are connected. They all hook up. And so what was found with humans is if you're sitting there and you're watching somebody lift up a cup, like let's say I'm drinking my tea. When I lift up the cup to drink my tea, the part of my brain that fires, oh, I feel it already. The part of my brain that is responsible for the hand motion, as his brain is firing in those areas, my brain fires in those areas. Even to the point of if he's picking up a full cup or an empty cup, my brain knows the difference. And it's been found that our emotions are contagious as well. And if you think about it, for survival of the species, it's really necessary. How else do we know what each other are feeling? So that we can serve each other and help each other survive as a species, or notice dangers, or notice, this is mango season. You see somebody sitting there with mango juice coming down them and this blissful smile on their face. You walk by them, you feel something. It's like the brain lights up, oh, bliss, pleasure. And you look around, where is the bliss? Where is the pleasure? So the reason that I mention this is because the whole field of social responsibility, or I see members of my synagogue here, tikkun olam is the Hebrew for repairing the world. The Jewish understanding is that each person in the world is here to repair the world. And when we repair something in ourselves, we repair it for the whole world. And I never understood how scientifically based and how cosmic that was until I learned about mirror neurons. So how does that relate to meditating? Well, it turns out that meditators' brains are different than the brains of other individuals in some key ways. One of the things, when you talk about having solutions, it turns out that unless we do something about it, the human brain atrophies. It literally shrinks starting from our 20s. And by the time we reach 40, the brain atrophies at 5% per decade. Okay? That's responsible for, people have, I hate the term, but people say, oh, I'm having a senior moment. That we don't remember things as quickly, we don't learn as quickly, we see somebody's face in front of us and we can't remember what their name is and we're embarrassed to ask them. I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody. Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Somebody comes up to you like they're your best friend and you can't ever remember where you even met them. So what happens in meditators is that this thinning, this atrophy of the brain, actually reverses itself in meditators. It actually, there's research, a lot of this research is from the UCLA Center for Neuroimaging, where they find that the brains of 50-year-old meditators are equal to the brains of 20 to 30-year-old non-meditators in terms of the cortical thickness. This area right back here, our cerebral cortex, is the seat of our supposedly sophisticated human intellect, and it's also implicated in the processing of emotions, and this thins with age. That's why we don't remember things. We don't experience joy as fully. But this can be stopped and reversed in meditators. And the bottom line, because we want to have the experience, we don't want to just be like looking at the menu of what a great meal this is going to be. We want to actually dig in and eat. The left prefrontal cortex. And this is negative emotions, tend to be processed here. Now, in most people, for survival, I assume, this part of the brain fires more. So somebody gives you 9 compliments. Oh, Myrna, you're so beautiful. You're always so upbeat. I love your energy. You're just so good. Myrna, what were you thinking when you put on that outfit today? What, your clothes burned down? What's she going to remember?
That one.
That one. And it's because the brain is wired to remember negativity. The expression in science is that it's Velcro for negativity. It just sticks and sticks, and it's like Teflon for positivity. It just falls right off. Now, that's the way the human brain has been literally for millennium. But in meditators, it starts reversing. And what happens is that this part of the brain actually begins to grow thicker, and this part of the brain actually, the connections wither. That's the term that was used. The connections for negativity wither, and the part of the brain responsible for processing happiness, joy, and other emotions grows stronger. Just from meditating, not from taking positive psychology classes, which I think are great, not from anything, just from meditating. And how this ties to mirror neurons is, it is our responsibility to increase the happiness and joy and receptivity in our brains, not only so that our life is well lived, but so that we spread that to everybody around us. I mean, doesn't it make sense? I mean, it really, spirituality brings a whole new dimension to what is social responsibility. So even if you're not meditating for yourself, meditate for the rest of us. Literally.
Many of us eat for others.
I tried to pay somebody to exercise for me, but it didn't work. But in a nutshell, the other thing I will tell you is that there's what's called hidden reserves in the brain. You know, they say that we only use 5 to 7% of our brain. Well, what's found in meditators is that the hidden reserves of the brain light up as well. So we begin to use more of our hidden reserves. It also turns out that human beings are wired to be at their best and most productive when they are happy. Happy people are 37% more productive according to a Harvard University study. So if you want to be more productive, it's not the taskmaster beating you, because then what happens is that our attention goes to the more primitive brain, the amygdala, the reactive part, and that's not where creative problem solving happens. So if you want to be happy, you want to be successful, and you want to be creative, then meditation is a golden key. And also, if you want to be healthier, it turns out that meditation boosts immune function, heart function. Oh, in fact, one thing, the preliminary results from the study that we're doing in Canada, and we're looking at a group of seniors, which is classified as 60 to 85. And particularly when we have non-joyful moods, it affects our heart for a whole reasons I'm not going to go into right now, because we want to have the experience. But what happens is that the heart becomes more rigid. You could say the flexibility of the heart becomes more rigid, blood pressure goes up, all of these things. And what was found in our study, we've run about a third of the subjects in the study to date, and what we found is that not only does the mood change in the meditating group compared to the controls, but that the deterioration in heart function that's associated with age actually reversed itself in 12 weeks. 12 weeks to reverse that. It's remarkable. It works for both normal, people with regular heart function and those with hypertension and cardiovascular disease. So, would you like to actually have the experience?
Yes.